Do you want to crush it in 2022? Then stick around because we're going to talk about 6 things that are going to help you succeed in youth ministry this year.
Welcome to the Ministry Coach Podcast. My name is Jeff Lascola. This is
Kristen Lascola.
And this is the #1 youth ministry podcast on YouTube or any podcast that you're currently listening to right this actual second.
I was about to say, how do you know? What are these statistics? But I see what you did there.
It was voted upon and we won. So thank you guys for being a part of this. Hey, you guys. Today we're talking all about what succeeds in 2022 in youth ministry.
Yeah, I can't believe this is our last episode of 2021, right? So we're going to lay it out there as you take your break, and I hope you do at the end of the year. I know after tomorrow, I'm kind of done for the year. I'm just like, this is like time to regroup and to figure out what do I want to do next. So today we're talking about 6 things that are going to succeed in 2022. So you're going to have an edge because you know them a whole 2 weeks early. All right. So #1, regular meetings and events. So your regular meetings, keep them. Those are your, I don't know that everyone's doing midweek programs.
Right.
So we've gotten questions before, and perhaps this needs to be a whole episode, but there is a difference between our weekend service, which is like just church, and then our
just church.
Well, you know what I mean.
Right.
Like
your typical church service.
Regular
program.
Church. And then we have youth group, which meets on a Tuesday night. So that's a basic structure of youth ministry. So if you're kind of new to the game and you're like, wait, why? Someone asked recently, why do you keep talking about Sunday and Tuesday? And it's 2 different things. So Tuesday is youth group. It's the party. It's the event. It's when we take over the whole church and it's just for us. Sunday, we're in our classroom and regular church is going on for everybody. But Tuesday is campus takeover and we go big and we go for a 2-hour program and it's a lot of fun, hype, high energy, all of that. So you want to keep those regular meetings. And we talked about on previous episodes, meet as often as you can. We only take 2 weeks off out of the whole year. In the past, I've said 3, but then I realized I only say 3 because one of those were whitewater rafting for our summer camp.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that's the busiest week of my whole
If anything,
year.
You're doing more of that week.
Right. It's just we don't have regular youth groups. So these next 2 weeks in December, how I said I'm going to have them off, that we aren't meeting. And let me tell you, our kids are so mad. They're like, why aren't we meeting in December? I said, we are. Just the 14th is our last day. And then we'll see you back January 4th. No, we should meet. We're off school. We want to do, and they like are so mad we're not doing youth group. But yes, we're going to take 2 weeks off. But other than that, meet regularly with your group. And then make sure you're having events. Events are huge for 2021 and 2022 because people are wanting to come back together. They want to do stuff. They want to be out. They want to do things that are building community and are a lot of fun. So I challenge you, have 1 event a month. If you need some ideas for that, you can go back and listen to our calendar episode where I gave you my entire yearly calendar month by month with every event that I do. You need at least 1 event per month in addition to your regular meetings. So 2022, what's going to be successful is being together, giving your students lots of opportunities to be together, to build community, to be out. People are still in that like, I'm ready to get out kind of mode. And we're still riding the wave of the new appreciation for being able to be together. So let's give them what they want. I mean, are your kids super bummed if you're taking a break? They should be, because it should be so much fun and something they need so bad each week that when you say, we got to take a couple weeks off for Christmas, let the leaders reset, they should be super bummed.
Yeah.
So #2 in 2022, continue to emphasize fun, festive, and celebratory. And so I kind of said this on a couple episodes and I'm like, maybe this is going to be the quote that I'm known for or something, but I feel like every week youth group or church should be a party for Jesus. Like that's how it should feel, that every time you come to youth group or church, you just left a party. and not just for like, let's just entertain ourselves, but a party for Jesus. Because if you're not celebrating your faith every week, you're doing it wrong. If you're mourning your faith every week, you're doing it wrong. If church is a drag and kids have to be dragged to come, then it's being done wrong, because the gospel is such good news. And like the whole New Testament, well, the whole Bible is good news, but I feel like the whole New Testament, especially, it's like, this is cause to party, to celebrate, to have fun, to just like bring in that joy. So decorate, have fun music, have food, like make it feel like a party, find excuses to dress up, to theme things. Like if you're not having fun at church, it's being done wrong. So 2022 kind of building off of like, hey, we want to be together. And when we're together, we want to have a good time.
Right.
And that is the addictive nature of church, is like, when I'm there, I just know I'm having a good time. And there is nothing wrong with that. Don't confuse that with, well, if you aren't being serious, you're not being spiritual. That is like from like the dark ages.
Right.
I don't know why we ever thought being serious and somber was being spiritual, unless it's like mourning your sin and transgressions and then moving on and enjoying the grace of God.
I had a friend in high school who was mocking one of the youth groups in town because he's like, it's just like they have like a party every week. And I was like, yeah, and you don't like the youth group you go to, and yet you're making fun of this one, and they do enjoy it. It's interesting how that works.
Heaven forbid we enjoy being in God's house.
Let's be miserable and talk about God. No, let's be
this idea
excited
for a
and talk about God.
It's God's house. If people came to your house and they always left, like, that was so boring. That was such a life sucker. That was
don't want to come again.
But if people couldn't wait to come to your house because it was joy and friendship and celebration, like, I mean, I would think that that's what God would want for his church, that they're a people of rejoicing and fun. So you're the fun keeper in a lot of ways. You know, as the youth pastor, you can make things be so exciting. So I don't know if that's a challenge for you to up your excitement game a little bit. I mean, if you've listened to our podcast for any length of time, I'm sure you've got the hint that we're a bit of a high energy group and we are fun and all of that kind of stuff. But challenge yourself.
Right.
Bring up the fun factor a little bit, the celebration. Celebrate good times, right? All right, number 3, this is when it comes to your teaching in particular. And we talked about this on the regrets episode a little bit, but my challenge for 2022 for you in terms of your teaching is tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And we talked about this a little bit on our regrets episode, but the whole idea here is like, I think we've hit a point where things got real. And I think 2020, things got real. And it was just like, oh no, like, this is not okay. We're not okay. And it's like, all right, in an age of, you know what it reminds me of? Do you remember that Friends episode where Phoebe was playing guitar at the children's library, but she was putting super inappropriate truths into the song, but the kids kept coming and coming because they're like, this lady tells the truth, and they wanted to hear it, and it was so inappropriate. But my challenge is, okay, in an age appropriate way, how do we just say, like, here it is, guys, this is what's going on, this is the truth, and not being afraid of it, because I think we're in some desperate times and we're coming out of, I feel like, a little bit, maybe you have a totally different perspective, but I feel like the tension has died down in my circle a little bit. But to just say, here is what you need to know, and just say it, and they eat it up. I think they're so hungry for some unfiltered truth of like the Bible. Yeah. So they want to know, how does this end? And my students in particular, like I've mentioned before, are particularly interested in Revelation right now. And I think the reason for that is because times are so uncertain and they don't know what's coming next. And we never could have predicted what happened the last couple of years. And so then to be able to say with certainty here, okay, here's the actual future that we all have to look forward to. And Satan loses. Right. And let me tell you, and you're a part of it. And like the whole thing of Jesus coming back and with his church and a new heaven and a new earth, and like Satan getting the smackdown laid on him and that God eventually will deal with evil once and for all and that it will be ended. And I think that is exciting to students because it makes me feel like I'm on this like trilogy epic journey and I'm part of it. Like you read the Revelation, you're like, am I in a novel? Like this is so cool, but it's real life. And I think it gives fresh wind in sails. And so I'm kind of steering away from these softball messages right now and then calling them on it. You know, I even took the Christmas story to be an opportunity of like, don't wait till you're older to follow Jesus. Like that's such a lie from Satan that, oh, someday, like, oh, people expect teenagers to be like shady or whatever. Like why? Mary was a teenager. So that shows us right there, like you can't get away with this behavior. Like and then I talked to them about the judgment of Christ and all this stuff. And it's like, better that you just know it.
Right.
So I think it was a little like, whoa, but I talked to them about the great white throne judgment versus the Bema seat. Who goes to which judgment? What happens to those who are at the great white throne judgment?
So you're
the
kind of
book
doing
of
like
life
an age appropriate turn and burn.
I guess so.
Burn,
I know that's been out of fashion for a while, like fire and brimstone pastors, but it's like, I want you guys to know, like, this isn't the moral correction facility. Like, I'm not here to teach you how to be a good person. I'm here to teach you how to follow Jesus because there is a lot at stake and you need to know what it is. And so I don't want to sugarcoat. There's not a good ending. And Jesus says, you're for me or against me. So if you're not aligned with Jesus, you're aligned with Satan. And it's like, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. And that's the deception that you can just skate by on neutral ground. There's no neutral ground with Jesus. And that's what I drip in over and over and over again into their brains of like, you cannot be neutral. Like you are a follower of Jesus, even if you don't get it or understand it all.
Which is probably
where else are you going to go?
Contrary to what everything culture tells them in this day and age.
Exactly. And that's why this is my big number 3 of like, we need to just tell them black and white the truth. And I think like stop shying away from like the hell talk and the Satan talk and the sin talk and the judgment talk. And that's, like you said, that's the stuff our culture doesn't want to acknowledge because it's so like, oh my gosh, I don't like the way that makes me feel.
Right.
But it's like, okay, well, I don't want you to go to hell. So let me tell you exactly what the Bible says and you will make the decision. But I don't want it to ever be said that I did not tell you and that you didn't understand it. Like, let's go. It's pretty black and white here. And they, like I said, they eat it up. I think they're like those kids on Friends. They're so hungry, like an adult who's going to tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. And please don't protect my feelings anymore. And there's a way to not say it harsh, like you're going to hell, kid. But I mean, let me tell you guys, there's a lot at stake. This is serious. And Jesus, this is why he came. It's not just because so we can feel good about ourselves. Like, here's why he came to save us from what? So, I mean, we got to continue that gospel thread and just nail it home to them to help them get the full picture. And my suggestion is don't be afraid, take them all the way to Revelation because that's where it gets like, epic, full circle. Oh my gosh. And that is the picture of Jesus that I'm like, heck yes. Like he's a boss, you know? And that just like, I get excited, you know, ramped up.
I can't believe you don't like Marvel movies.
I can't take anyone in a cape seriously.
Okay.
I'm like, how are you guys not laughing during this?
They're not all caped, but you haven't seen enough to know that.
They always just look like they're in a Halloween costume. I don't know. It just feels very weird. All right. Number 4, 2022. If you already have a student leadership team, way to go. Here's my challenge for you. Get students more involved in leadership. So ask yourself, is this a leadership team? Is it a discipleship team? What am I actually doing? But here's the challenge. We need to teach students in 2022 that you are not a spiritual consumer, you are a spiritual contributor. Get them away from the idea that the church exists to serve them because it does not, and they will be disillusioned with whether or not the church fits their particular preferences or needs, and they will walk away when they get older. They need to understand you are the church, so get to work, okay? And it's amazing how fulfilling it is for a person when they find their stride in the body of Christ and in his church, because Doy, that's what they were meant to do.
Yeah.
So when you allow them opportunities to do it, there's this runner, and he was saying, every time I run, I feel God's pleasure because that's what I was made to do. When I teach, I feel God's pleasure because that's what I was made to do. Where can your students feel the pleasure of God in their life, of saying, this is why I made you. This is how I've gifted you. This is what I've created you to do. Well, your job as a leader is to open up those opportunities. So do you have kids who can teach? Meaning, could they sit in front of a camera coached by you and share their testimony? Do you have students who can lead a game or help lead worship or mentor younger kids, platform kids, anywhere that you can? We had our whole student leadership team take over one night at youth group, and they ran everything with lots of planning and help from us on the front end. It was a lot of work, but they emceed the night. They ran the game. They did worship hand motions. None of them played instruments, but they sang. I would have let them. They just don't.
Yeah.
We don't have any like super musical kids. And they can, one great job for kids is learning tech, running the sound booth. They can hit slides in Pro. If you use Pro Presenter, they can click worship slides. It's very simple. If you teach them how to use the light board or the soundboard, or I've even had our professional tech guys mentor my student leadership kids and teach them how to do it because I don't really know how. So I said, hey, can my kids learn from you? They're like, totally. We love this. So find ways to get them into the church, not a spiritual consumer. Megan Marshman, I heard this great little sermon jam from her the other day on TikTok, and she was saying we need to help people understand that they're not the main character, that God is the main character. And so if you walk into a church and you're the main character, then yes, all your preferences must bow to like yourself, I guess, but if you walk into church and God is the main character, then you can look around and say, God, who do you want me to see? What do you want me to do? How do you want me to take care of your church? Because it's about you, not about me. And I think that the younger we start that, the better, because then we have these adults that are like, I'm not going anymore because it's too cold in the auditorium. Yeah. It's like, oh, help us. And instead of seeing like, you must cater to my needs, or I'm church shopping to see. Right. And there's something to be said of like, hey, you click with certain groups and you don't. There's certain communities that you feel more a part of, but getting into the nitty gritty of like, this church doesn't serve me. I mean, there's just something interesting there that we need to pay attention to. So not every church is for everyone. That's why there's multiple churches, but why wasn't it for you?
Right.
Is it a consumer mindset or, something else? And that's a big challenge of getting students outside of that they're not the customer. Yeah. You're not the customer here. Like we're doing, and that's what I always tell them on my student leadership team. Like we're doing ministry together. I'm going to help you because you're young, but I'm going to help you see, like, come alongside. Let's do this together. When there's something to clean up, you're going to help me do it. When there's something...
Because you probably made that mess.
You probably did spill the root beer on the floor for the 100th time. So
we did a whole episode on launching a student leadership team. So make sure you guys check that out. It'll be in the show notes. And we also did an episode on service projects. And that, I mean, something obviously might change based on where you're at, but those are some good jumping off points. The student leadership one is also good. I think even if you already have a team, just in some ways you can level up. But check out those two episodes. They might help you a lot in your student leadership team structure.
Okay, jump. Okay. All right. Number 5. I love this one. Do something new.
Okay.
You faked that response.
I did.
Whatever. So here's the thing. Surprise your students with something new this year. If you're like me, you're like, I know what works. I got my routine. I got my calendar, copy, paste, boom, new year. All right. Well, here's what I'm going to challenge me and you to do is to do 5 new things this year. Something new. Is it a new event, a new game, a new camp, new merch, new traditions, new room decor, new logos, new videos? I don't know, but your ministry should not be stagnant. So in 2022, really challenge yourself. If I'm going to do 5 new things this year, they don't have to be huge. They could be huge, or if you need huge things to be done, but you could also do small things like we're going to sell stickers now so kids can put them on their hydros or their skateboards, whatever. But we're going to do new things. We're going to add a new game in our rotation every 6 weeks. We're going to do new funny videos and wake up kids at 5 a.m. in the morning and show them every 3 months. So I don't know. We used to do that. It was fun. So what new thing are you going to do in 2022? Really challenge yourself to not be stagnant. And then you could get ideas by diving into their world a little bit. What are they into? And some creativity could flow from that.
Yeah, I think there's obviously a lot to be said about consistency. It's very important to have consistency in your ministry, but part of that consistency should be the surprise. Or the consistency of a little inconsistency.
Well, and don't you think there's a difference between like surprises and changes? Like, totally. I don't think people want to come to a program that changes every single week.
Right.
But like an element that like, I can't predict what's going to happen.
But I know that I can predict that I'm going to like it.
Yeah. So. And that you have to relearn structures every week or why because there's something to be said. Like our kids love certain traditions that we do. So if I miss it, they go, why didn't you do the impossible shot? And I'm like, oh yeah. Okay. Like they're like, no, this is what we do. We do this, we do that, we do this, but what cool thing could I add into that? Or what, like we're always going to play a game, right. But how about a game you've never played before or with a really fun twist to it?
Ring of Fire. I'm just throwing out ideas.
Something with shaving cream.
I'm just, okay. Or that. That's cheaper and probably safer.
I did.
No menthol though.
Yeah. Pro tip. I did ask our campus pastor if I could do the cold sparklers in the auditorium. So it's fire, looks like fire, but it's cold and they're sparklers. They use them at weddings. For like grand entrances inside. And he said no. But if you've ever used cold sparklers, I want to hear about it.
I've never even heard of them. Interesting.
Yeah. And if you have any new ideas for what you're going to do in 2022, I want to hear about that too. So, and then number 6, and finally, finish your 2022 calendar now because the preparation gives you an edge on the quality of your events. So that's a really great thing to wind down the rest of the year. You have a couple of weeks left, and I would say go through, maybe listen to our calendar episode and sit down January and type it all out. Get your like staples on there and then get your events and then start looking ahead to each month of how to be. I think it's like horrible when it's like the end of January and like, we need a February event. Like, you know, you should have that stuff ahead of time. And now is hopefully it's winding down for you guys. Some churches really ramp up for the holidays. I love our church because it kind of ramps down for the holidays. And it's like, we're people too. We want to take a break. We'll see you next year. We don't do pageants and things like that. So, so this is a good time to like, okay, let's look at this calendar and get it done. I would challenge you to get that calendar done before the stroke of midnight on January 1st. Well, December 31st, whatever. So get it done.
Yeah. So you got a lot of work to do, but all good things. All good things. And make sure you guys check out the student leadership episode, the service project episode, the how to plan out your entire year episode. And I wrote it down. I forgot it. Oh, the one we did last week of just regrets in youth ministries. So yes, that's a lot of stuff to do. Right now, we're going to go into the question of the day, which I'm excited about. And it is, what is a celebrity you met that was awesome, like super rad person?
Easy.
And how did you meet them, or where was the context of it?
So I have 2 because I met them on the same day and they were so cool. So I somehow got to get this huge VIP backstage pass for Dancing with the Stars. My dad had this weird hookup. I don't even know. We ended up there. It was incredible. So anyways, we go backstage with one of the staff members and we go past Kate Flannery. She's Meredith from The Office. Yeah. We went past her dressing room and she like comes out with the biggest smile, like is so energetic, so happy to see us, like just chatting up a storm. I have it on my Instagram. Like I saved it and you just see her. She's like in her robe and she's like, hey, welcome. I'm so glad you guys are here. Like like she knew us.
Right.
And then we keep going and we meet James Vanderbeek.
The Dawson?
Yeah, from Dawson's Creek, Varsity Blues. I don't know what else he was in since then. And he was literally precious. He was just so engaged. Like, hey, how are you guys doing? Like, where are you from? So glad you could come to the show. And then we got a picture with him and he was so nice and just like mellow and patient and like just nice. It was like, whoa, James Vanderbeek, like you're the best. He was so sweet. So I loved it.
I have a lot of family in Ohio. Shout out to my Ohio people out there. And at the time,
they're listening.
Not my family, the people who are listening.
I was like, your family is not listening to our podcast.
Oh, forget about your family for a second. Hello to the Ohio people.
The other people that live in Ohio.
Double O high in the middle. You know who you are. So my sister lived in Dayton for a while. She has since moved, but I was visiting her and her family there. And we went to Yellow Springs, which apparently is the home of Dave Chappelle. I didn't know that. We were just cruising around and there he was. And so this was kind of like before he really hit mainstream. So I think he was able to kind of walk around and most people wouldn't know him. I knew who he was. And I went up and you got a picture with him and talked to him for a little bit. Super rad guy. He was high as a kite. So that might have been why he was so nice.
I wouldn't expect anything
I know, right? No, it was a really nice guy. So I have nothing bad to at least say with my in-person encounter with Dave Chappelle.
Yes.
So it's pretty cool. All right.
That is cool.
Community comment of the day. This comes from Siga MD, and this is from the Youth Pastor Leadership episode. And he says, hey, I am a college youth team leader, and I'm learning a lot from your podcast. I can confidently say that you guys are my number one resource.
Wow.
May God bless you and keep up the good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Siga MD.
He is from Ethiopia. This is a worldwide show.
Worldwide.
That's one of my favorite things. I
cool.
mean, I always knew that we'd probably have people in the States watching, but to see that there's people that are in other countries. Yeah, that's really cool.
And you know what is cool? That they would take the time to say that.
Yeah.
You know, because you could just be like, wow, I really like, there's so many things I'm like, oh, I really like this or that. But I don't know that I always take the time to tell that person. And those are those moments where you're like, oh yeah, this does go to help people. Let's keep doing it. And it's so cool, like to see the fruit of that. So thank you, Siga MD.
That's really cool.
I appreciate you.
If you guys are watching on YouTube, we would love for you to leave a comment in the comment section. If you are listening on a podcast, whatever podcast player you're listening from, if you can leave a review, we would love for you to leave a review. And that's it for today. I hope you guys have
And that's it for the year.
That's it for the year. Crush it in 2022. That is on your agenda. Until we see you and talk to you next time, take care. Oh, that's not how we end the show.
I was like, what are you doing?
Consistency is key. That was a surprise, shock and awe. How do we end the show? Till next time.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.